So welcome to the ACI-LAC and Munich Airport International webinar called Airport as a Business Platform. In today's webinar, we have the pleasure to count with our speaker, Lutz Weiser, Managing Director at Munich Airport International. Before we start, we would like to share with you that as usual, we have simultaneous interpretation. You could select Spanish or English in the Zoom menu where it's the globe icon. Besides, if you don't want to hear the original audio, please click on mute original audio. As you can recall from other webinars, the chat function is disabled, and in case you want to ask any questions to the speaker, you will have to send it to us to the email address you'll find in the screen, info@aci-lac.io. The Q&A session will take place at the end of the presentation. So now I would like to give the floor to Lutz.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Lutz Weiser. As Carla just said, thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm coming to you as the Managing Director of Munich Airport International. We are responsible for, I'm responsible for the global airport business of Munich Airport proper, one of the few 5-star rated airports in the world. I know in South America, I think it's only Quito. And just today, we've been awarded the second 5-star operations for our subsidiary, which is the Terminal A in Newark Airport. And of course, we're all celebrating. So I dragged myself away from the celebrations to come to you. Airport as a business platform. What do I mean with that? Next, please. We, as airport operators, we have to deal with the customer expectations. We have a very big conundrum, and I'll talk to that, talk to you about that. And then I would like to talk some of the status quo and pain points as far as some of our businesses that are supposed to be the biggest revenue drivers. And suggest some changes in some future possible airport businesses that run on the airport as a business platform. Trying to be really quick and short, so we have some time for questions and discussions. Next, please. As an airport operator, we have to meet the customer expectations, and that is mostly the passenger expectations of an airport. We have to get the basics right. We have to have the punctuality of baggage handling and the flight operations. We want very easy orientation. Passengers want very easy orientation and navigation through our terminals at our airports. And they don't want to get lost. They want the natural wayfinding, and they don't they want to feel empowered that like they are choosing their way to go. They want seamless and touchless travel, the least amount of touch points, the least amount of the staccato of the stop and go. Who are you? Prove it to me. Where are you going? Prove it to me. Is this your bag? Prove it to me. Is there anything dangerous in your bag? Prove it to me. I don't care. I'm going to check it anyway, and so forth and so forth. So, you know, the passengers hate this kind of stop and go process and really have to work on these processes together with our stakeholders, of course, the federal police, the border protection, the transport safety agencies, and so forth. And we'd like to turn our airports into experiences, into destinations. We would love to have additional people, additional customers come to our airports, and I'll talk to that a little bit later on. Next, please. And you know, the basis of the airport business platform is a great customer experience strategy. We try to have 4 pillars of a customer experience strategy. It is about segmentation. You want to customize your customer's experience. You want to gather and track as much and utilize as much information as you have on them. And it's surprising how much information you have on them. You know, when they start the queuing process for checking, or the queuing process for the security checkpoint, you know, we make them put their barcodes there, and then you immediately have a little bit of information. Sometimes you entice them to give up a little bit more information when they sign on to your WLAN, you know, into your Wi-Fi. And we use this kind of automation and the technology to execute our strategy and customize the strategy for each passenger. And we're trying to orchestrate the data from multiple platforms, and we're trying to create a much more connected customer experience, and I'll speak to that as we move on. And the biggest thing, of course, and the most important pillar is we try to make every customer, every passenger feel like a personal customer, from bespoke shopping experiences to, you know, ping, ping, ping on your iPhone. Hi, Lutz, you're back. We're so happy to have you. Last time you had 2 beers at our beer garden. We have a special. Why don't you come back? How about having a third? How about having a third a beer this time? Next, please. I already briefly spoke about the conundrum that we have at the airports, and it's quite massive, come to think of it. Next, please. There's really 2 conundrums that we have to live with. We as our platform providers, we really have, and we would like to enable very short product life cycles, not just the airlines, but also the advertisers, pop-up stores, all kinds of products that have a very short life cycle. Sometimes just a season, sometimes a year, sometimes a day, sometimes a few hours, sometimes a morning. So this kind of seasonality, with this kind of shortness of product life cycles, we have to deal with in an infrastructure that takes years and decades in planning, permitting, approving, constructing, and then start the operated terminal or any other airport infrastructure. And worst of all, we have to deal with depreciation, because some of our terminals and some of our airport infrastructure is tailor-made from our forefathers. You know, they hired great architects, and they really tailor-made the holding rooms. They tailor-made the process as it was known then. And now we have to depreciate that. You know, in Germany, for instance, and it's pretty typical of other societies as well, in economies as well, you know, you have to depreciate the infrastructure over 50 years. That means, and we have some of the infrastructure we operate is 30, 35, 40 years old. So we have to deal with that and try not to ruin our balance sheet by demolishing something that's still in the books with 35% or 40% or even 14%. Because if you have $1 billion infrastructure terminal, and that, as you all know, comes by very, very quickly, because our infrastructure is the most expensive real estate in the world. So how do we get out of the conundrum? You know, we really have to plan future infrastructure in a way that allows for very quick product periods. And I know our economy people hate it when we tell them, well, you know, we need some space, and we don't have a business plan for it. We just know we need a couple of thousand square feet. I mean, a couple of thousand square meters to just be ready for something that somebody dreams of, a product 4 years from now that we don't even know. You know, much like the iPhone, that apps can play on. So that's a huge conundrum we have to work with. Next, please. And the next conundrum is also quite interesting. You know, we spend so much time to provide infrastructure for our passengers, for our customers, and they spend, I don't know, 40 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 90 minutes if they're transferring, maybe an hour, 2 hours. And that's it. Yes, they are in a glass prison. They can't go anywhere once they're outside. and most of them are pretty affluent because they can afford a ticket or they can afford to travel. But the conundrum is they spend much more time in the airplane. And even so, in Munich, we have a joint venture with Lufthansa, or a legacy carrier. We really don't have a way of working with them quite so well yet. So one second, please.
Just to remind you, if you have any questions, please send it to info@aci-lac.io.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about this. Okay, next, please. Okay, let's talk about some of the businesses and some of the pain points. Next, please. Okay, what are some of the past, present, and future non-aviation issues that we're dealing with? And we've developed this with our good friends in Portland Design in London. Next, please, and let's look at this in a little bit detail, how this all developed. I mean, obviously, in the past, we were dealing with very basic food and beverage, with some basic retail, with core duty-free, just refreshments and snacks. Next, please. You know, a lot of airports now have specialty retail. We have travel essentials, you know, charging stations. We have casual dining. We have branded areas, you know, duty-frees. We have fashion accessories. We have personal tech, much more books and newspapers, much more pharmacy and health products. Of course, we still have travel essentials. And the food and beverage concepts really become experiences in themselves. We have celebrity chefs. We have branded food and beverage champions from the local economies, from the local cities, from the areas, highlighting, showcasing what's possible in any airport. Of course, you know, we have the Starbucks and some of the other fast food stores, but we also try to really localize the experience. What will be the future? Next, please. And I think it becomes really important to start talking about curating content. We're talking about luxury fashion. We're talking about tailored environments. So we let, with huge investments, partly luxury brands create their own experience. You know, we have a brand presentation, much more important than a brand transaction. Some of the brands that are active in our airports don't necessarily want the actual transaction because it becomes so difficult to have that certain product in that certain size, in that color, and have it in store. Brands nowadays much rather have your data, recruit you as a customer, and retain you as a customer in the experience of the brand. You know, Adidas would much rather have a climbing wall than try to sell you a sneaker or have the data set from your feet, measure your feet or your whole body, and have that data set ready for the rest of your life, really, and really have iconic showcases and concept store approaches versus the traditional over-the-counter transaction. And this sort of immersive promotions is something that we see more and more. we once had a luxury brand. It's actually the negotiations are not over yet. A very, very high-end luxury brand that said, no, we don't want to sell anything. We just want to set up a leather workshop, and then we'll have customers come in because they'll be interested, and we'll let them do one stitch in a bag, in a high-end ladies women's bag, and then they'll see why our bag is $15,000, because they know it takes 15 years to practice that one stitch. I found that quite fascinating, and they say, well, we'd much rather have the email and the data set of somebody than try to sell a luxury bag. I mean, they will have, of course, luxury bags in store, but they say the risk of creating an unhappy customer because you don't have that particular product in that particular size, in that particular color, is too big, because it's much too risky and much too expensive to try to store everything. So it's really about signature moments, creating iconic experiences, creating entertainments within the brand, be very flexible, have that kind of relationship selling, and integrate it also in the arts and culture. So try to blur the edges and create venues while you're working away. Of course, all of us are business people and try to work as much as possible, even while we're traveling, but immerse those kind of workstation in a brand experience, and maybe even integrate that into a health and well-being venue, where you're getting a massage or getting a foot massage while you're working away. These kind of recruitment platforms are becoming much more important. And really the most important topic is the right-hand corner is airports as media platforms. I'll showcase Newark, what we're doing there, Terminal A, where we're seeing, where we're trying to utilize the eyeballs and the footfall for our customers and for our brand recognition in a much better way. That will also change the business as we know it, because non-aviation at the moment has a revenue and percentage share rent. But if there's if there's no revenue created because nothing is being sold, then how do you participate in that? Next, please. So let's look at some examples. Next, please. We have to take into account that there's very comprehensive business platforms evolving. We are seeing a trend that, of course, all of us are transportation hubs. That's what airports are. And the more transportation modi you have integrated, the better it is. But we have to look at the whole airport campuses and how can we generate traffic and how can we generate additional customers to that. I'll show you where in Munich, for instance, the airport campus has really become a destination. We have on an average weekend, on average on each weekend, we have over 35,000 additional guests that utilize our airport, not for traveling, not for meeting and greeting, have nothing to do with aviation. They just come to shop, they come for leisure, they get free parking if they have a certain threshold of consummation. I'll show you also that you have to integrate the landside into your business. It might sound banal, but we have to explore unconventional thinking. And we really have to think about new avenues for passenger engagement. And most of our airports are pretty well connected to the area, to the surrounding region. And most of our airports are not really utilizing that kind of connection as a regional hub and that kind of connection to the region. So we try to explore additional avenues to get additional passengers and customers onto our campuses. I think one of the biggest issues is we really need much more dynamic concepts for retail and for non-aviation models. We fear and we feel that the traditional model is just dead. The transaction is still working in food and beverage, but passengers becoming pickier and pickier. They want the experience, they want the specialty. Of course, we in Munich it's very easy for us because we have a very distinct Bavarian brand on our own to sell, and it works extremely well. And of course, our biggest food and beverage outlet is our own brewery. So we brew our own beer on site. And we have an extremely large beer garden on land side. We have a small beer garden on the air side. We sell the beer on the air side as well. And we also are currently the only airport in the world that has an open sky, an open beer garden on the air side, where you can sit outside under trees, just like you would in the park and just drink a beer or two, depending on the time you have. So I think what's really important is that apart from the food and beverage, you absolutely need to look at more dynamic concepts for your retail models. I will speak about some of the area productivity. We just simply cannot afford anymore to have a sort of fire and forget food and beverage concept. For instance, hooray, hooray, we have a Burger King. I have nothing against Burger King, of course, but hooray, hooray, we have a fast food contract for the next 15 years, and we don't have to look at that anymore. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. That's not the future, we feel. But we have to look at certain outlets where in the same space, they can become something in the morning, coffee, something else for lunch, in the same space with digitized screens showing the different menus, and something entirely different in the evening. And we also try to work not just with digitized menus and digitized screens to show what's on stock or what is being sold. Is it croissants and coffee in the morning? Is it sushi for lunch? And is it beer for the bar feeling in the evening? We also need to utilize all senses. Fragrance is becoming very, very important. Where, of course, in the air conditioning in certain areas, you pump in the coffee fragrance in the morning, and you automatically want to drink a coffee, or certain other smells over lunch, and certain other fragrances in the evening, where you're being enticed subconsciously to want a coffee or to want something else. So all this kind of blurred boundaries between your subconscious, which is already being utilized by advertising, we as airport operators need to take into account as well. So it's not just blunt information, or I can buy a burger here, excellent, but that's really having to deal with your eyes, your ears, and your nose and your sense of smell. A couple of airports are already utilizing fragrances to soothe people at certain stress points. This very simple fragrances, lavender, everybody loves lavender at stress points like security, for instance. Some airports, some airlines already go as far as having a specific fragrance. You can go and buy a certain fragrance for an airline. Singapore Airline has a fragrance that you can actually buy. If you want to, a lot of hotel chains have it, a lot of car makers have it, and not just Rolls-Royce, but also, a Mercedes or BMW have a certain brand fragrance that you can utilize. Some airports have it as well. We in Germany have a problem that the unions don't like the employees to be exposed to a fragrance at all times. So that's something we have to work with. But the most important thing really is blurring the boundaries between the brands, information, signage, media, and art. And we'll try to show that you can only do that if you own the screen and if you curate the content. We feel that as an airport operator, you cannot afford anymore to just sort of have a 10-year contract with an advertising agency, and they have their own screens, and then there's advertising there, and you have to compete with the attention of your passengers with other information or with other enticement for your own retail or experience or food and beverage. So we feel it is now important that you start curating the content on your screens together with the brands, and I'll show that it'll be almost like a radio show. 5 minutes of information, 5 minutes of entertainment. Of course, it'll be more like 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 30 seconds, and then of course signage and wayfinding. What's also really important, and as an airport operator, we sometimes don't take that into account enough. And it brings me back to the iPhone. You really have to allow and encourage third-party innovations. And it can be something very, very simple. It can be very complex. And most importantly, it will definitely be something that you're not thinking of as you're developing your airport now. That's just the nature of the game. We don't know what the next big app will be that we're all going to use 10 years from now. We have no clue. I have no clue. But I will know that there will be the next great app on my iPhone, and I will use it for 100%. I will try it out at least. And we have to be open as airport operators to that as well. And it comes back to the big conundrum I said in the beginning. We have to allow for space, which is very, very expensive. We have to allow for space for others, third parties, to try out an app, to try out a business, to try out something, and really be that platform for somebody to fail or somebody to succeed. And to provide this infrastructure to allow for this kind of business ideas, I think is absolutely key. Same goes for the airlines. We have to talk to our airlines continuously and let them try out certain things as well. And we also have to talk to our stakeholders, the authorities, border police. I was mentioning them earlier, and let them try out something as well. Absolutely. Next, please. So let's look at landside development, and let's look at some of the think outside of the box issues I was talking about. Of course, Munich Airport famously has the Munich Airport Center on the left. You see the famous roof. And what we're doing there is just an enormity of events and seasonal things that happen. The winter market, the Christmas market. We have the surf and style. We have tennis. We have beach volleyball. We have everything. I already talked about the beer. In the beer garden, if alcohol is allowed in your country. And we also have a visitor hill, which is so banal, but if you just put a little bit of effort in it and make it a bit of an experience, you can actually earn money with it. We're earning a ton of money because all the school children come and watch the airplanes. Next, please. And even in the landside development, we have to ensure, if you look at some of the pain points, that you provide enough dwell time, and you have to try to generate new traffic segments. And you really have to work hard on the airport as a destination. The airport, almost every airport, is the biggest place of work. Not the biggest employer, but the biggest place of work in its respective region, because there's always the ground handlers, the airlines, the police, the local police, the federal police, the hairdresser, what have you, and not just direct employees of the airport. But certainly, the biggest place of work in all of Germany is Frankfurt Airport. the biggest place of employment in Bavaria is Munich Airport. So you have to think of the employees also as customers, and really try to think outside the box. You want to, in some of the other airports we're working on, we're trying to duplicate the landside destination concept and the event arena. And I'll show you in a second what we're also doing, not just the Munich Airport Center, which is directly between our terminals, in order to just attract new customer segments. And on the right-hand side, and it's deliberately just a very small picture because we've just started it, is an arena on the land side. It's directly on our campus. It's a Munich Convention Center. It has space for 20,000 people. We're developing it with a third-party investor, yes. They love the fact that they found a space on our campus. And we're happy, of course, to lease it. And we're happy to have them utilize all of our infrastructure from water to access roads. They claim to have it sold out 200 days a year. I should say 200 nights, really. So that's enormous. And that will certainly generate direct revenue for parking, and it will generate indirect revenue for the airport in the region. And of course, it will generate additional passengers as well. And I have to admit, it was not our idea. They came to us, but we love it. It's absolutely fantastic. It should open in 2 years. And I want to have, I said, they can have the contract if they give me a free ticket for the first Taylor Swift concert. So we'll see how that works out. But it's definitely something I personally would have never thought of at an airport. I don't think there's an arena like that anywhere else in the world. It doesn't have to be 20,000 people, but it definitely has to be something different than just a hotel convention center where the maximum might be 200, 300 people. Next, please. Food and beverage retail. What does the blurring mean, really? At the moment, we have the revenue-based rents for tenants in retail and food and beverage. The base rent is usually based on a fixed per square meter rate, and then a percentage of the revenue on top. But we see the retail revenues different from food and beverage decline at most airports. Of course, you have the convenience and the newspapers and so forth, but the retail is really in a decline over in the last couple of years, and it's not just the internet, but typically these tenant contracts also have a lifespan of 10 to 15 years because we ask them to invest inside of our infrastructure. The tenant fit out has to be recouped, has to be earned back. So this, of course, also is part of the conundrum I was talking before. Well, our infrastructure, our base infrastructure, needs to be depreciated by 50 years, maybe 40 years. Some of our tenants need to pay back within 10 or 15 years. So they also have the problem how they keep up with different product circles. Next, please. So I was talking about this a little bit earlier. We have very often very static offer throughout the day and throughout the season. And there's always the risk, it's always the same, however good it is. And especially recurring customers, they'll say, I've had that pizza. Yeah, okay. So we have to make sure that we curate that space and we tell our tenants how to use that space. And of course, we share data with our tenants, saying, okay, by the way, all of these, we're allocating these kind of flights, let's say international flights to Asia or to Japan, at these particular gates right next to your outlet. And that means, different passenger segments. And I was talking about it earlier, we want to have the flexibility in different offerings during the time of a day, a week, a season. We'd like to see digital signage to adapt to these flexible offerings. Ideally, it's all behind huge screens where you can see and you're enticed. Just even something simple as moving photos of the various dishes to certain dishes. Of course, we have digitized menus. We have flexible spaces. I was talking about the fragrance introduction. And then all you need to do, the people, the chefs just change a frock and a cap, and everything else is digitized. And all of a sudden, in the same space, you have a completely different outlet. And we really have to monetize the value from these curated spaces. Because obviously, if you look at a coffee place, it'll be less sales at 10 o'clock at night, because people just drink more coffee in the morning and more coffee after lunch. And then it sort of just dribbles down. Who's going to have a croissant at 8 p.m.? Not a lot of people. So you really want to create additional revenue at the same site, because the one thing that's absolutely holy is space. You cannot, or very, very expensive, or very, very difficult, you cannot create more space, especially on the air side. So you have to utilize the same space in different manners over the day, the week, the season. Next, please. So same goes for the retail. Very often you have a static offer. And of course, it is extremely difficult for the brands to maintain a comprehensive product inventory, because the storage is just prohibitively expensive. So you risk that unhappy customer, because you have that one guy who wants those red shoes, or that one lady, and you just don't have them. And it's really, the future innovation is going to be footfall versus fulfillment. The brands want to recruit you as a lifelong customer through personal offers and getting your data set, your name, your email, your weight, your size, your preferences, your glasses, your skin color, whatever you have. So it's really showrooming instead of a point of sale. And so brands utilize some of the stores at our airports, more of a media presentation, almost like an advertising, instead of an in-store space where they have to have a certain amount of revenue. So the impact on the business model is we're moving from traditional sales to customer recruitment through data acquisition. And the focus of the brands is on the brand experience. So you de-risk creating unhappy customers, because you don't have customers in the classic sense. You just have future customers. The brands love that. They know my weight. They know Lutz's preferences. They know he's allergic to leather. They know Lutz doesn't like long pants, or he doesn't like jeans, or whatever Lutz's preferences are. So we have to really move away from the airport shopping mall approach, because it's just becoming commercially less efficient. And it really, we feel our platform, our airport, evolves into an experience platform where you also can be very, very quick and try out things and say, okay, this is not a 10-year tenant investment. This is a 1-hour tryout. Let's see what happens if we light a torch. Next, please. My pet project, so to say, is really the screen curation. If you walk through your airport, if we walk through our airports, you have enormous amount of screens, different purposes, fits, advertising, and you really have an attention overload. It's almost guaranteed. And we even have sensory rooms now where you have decreasing sensory overload, where you're saying, okay, no more sound, or we have a giant fish tank in one. So it just tends to confuse people. And these are just mini examples. Too much color, too much information. You don't know where you are, and there's noise, and they're telling you, oh my God, your plane's leaving, or some other plane that you don't even care about. So what to do? Next, please. Next. Carla, can you go? Thank you very much. We're sure, we're convinced that you have to own your own screens in order to curate the content on those screens. At the moment, screens very often do not take advantage of the particular location of the specific traffic passenger segments or the passenger demographic or the destinations. And the content of the various screens, be it advertising, be it airlines, be it emergency services, it's really out of the hands of the operator. And very often, advertising has long-running contracts from us. You know, we love it. The commercial guys love it, and they're used to having, oh my God, you know, we've just signed a 5-year contract. Hooray, hooray! But then it's really for the next 5 years is out of our hands. So I think the future innovation is we're trying to become the one and only screen owner and operator. So we can control the locations and the content on each screen that there is. Because then we can be very, very quick to curate and create content for specific locations and for specific, sorry about too many difficult words, and this specific step in the passenger journey, be it at a specific gate hold room, be it at a specific point in the terminal journey. So the screens will really become digital information hubs where brands, information, signage, media, and art will blur. We as operators, terminal operators, will have much better control over what kind of passengers, where they are at any given time, and thus being able to create the right curation. And because we have much more precise attraction from the footfall, this should result in higher revenues, and we're already seeing that. And we can really monetize on the value of the eyeballs exposed to the content, to my content, to our content on the screens. And that will be a major challenge and a major impact on the business model. Because we as an airport, together with our dear friends, the airlines, but we as the airport, we create the footfall. And so we have to take advantage of that. And as I said earlier, it really will be like a radio show, where on certain areas on certain areas, hang on for 1 second. So it'll be like a radio show. Sorry about that for a second. This radio show is really will create new jobs as well. We will be completely different. We will not be contract managers as far as advertising and some of our long-running tenant contracts is concerned, but we'll be content managers, and that'll be a new job. We feel. Next, please. Just to show you a case study from Newark, Terminal A. What you see there on top of the queuing for the TSA, for the security checkpoint, is a giant screen. And this does exactly that from our friends from Moment Factory. It creates this kind of possible information. At the moment, it's being utilized to entertain the people that are queuing. It's very localized. Of course, it's in New Jersey. The operator and the Port Authority is very proud of this being in New Jersey. It reflects the spirit of New Jersey. and it embodies that. And of course, it has a very long repetition, over 30 minutes. And so you don't get bored with that kind of information that's on there. Next, please. And we've also, this is just some information on the actual terminal. I think for the sake of time, I just breeze through that. We're having about, last year we had 15 million passengers per year. It's just a domestic terminal at the Port Authority at Newark, Terminal A. So we just have American Airlines, United Airlines, JetBlue, and Delta, and Air Canada. Air Canada is not considered international because of the pre-clear operation that's happening. Next, please. And what we've integrated is a variety of very diverse usage of space. We have created a journey of surprises. A lot of things have been created at Newark for the first time. The first basketball game, the first baseball game, the first covered runway, the first ATC tower, the first light bulb, all kinds of firsts were there. And as you can see in the lower left-hand corner, we've integrated a forest of firsts with screens that have this kind of integration of the different information that can be on there. And we also go as far as the hold rooms, where we have a very different culture of hold room seating. And that also creates a unique environment. We've integrated the community to a very large degree. As always, the Port Authority, who owns the airport, demands a very high degree of localization. We've embraced that very much. And as you go forward with creating a commercial concept, you have to have the variety of spaces and the flexibility of spaces that are utilized in a different way, as I was talking about before. Next, please. I was talking about the journey of surprises, the digital journey. In the top middle photo, you see the big screen on top of the queuing again. And the screens, the pillars in front of the gate hold rooms, they show passenger information, but they also show a pop quiz for that piece. So that's really entertaining. They can show art for a certain part. So this just goes to show that you can create this kind of information that is curated. Of course, there can be advertising on that as well. Next, please. And I think I'm coming slowly to an end. Yeah, we have a whole color scheme to work with the commercial concept. Very important, I think, to use color and fragrance again to mimic the New Jersey shoreline. Next, please. Yeah, this is the color scheme as you move out from the central community into the piers, into the beach of New Jersey, into the forest of the central woodlands. So you really have to create a story that people can understand as far as not just a bland repeating of one hold room after the other. Next, please. Thank you. Yeah, there's just different hold room seating. We don't just have bench seating. Some of our colleagues call bench seating, as you can see in lower right hand. We have that, of course, but they call it killer seats because you're debt to revenue. Next, please. And of course, localizing. We have more than 20 local brands. We have, of course, the national brands and international brands, but we have something extremely, extremely localized as well. The biggest revenue driver, the one outlet with the biggest revenue in the whole terminal. as a restaurant that has exactly 3 outlets, 2 in Jersey City and 1 at the airport, which created a new set of problems because they had no clue, oh, we have to badge our people, oh my God, during opening time, but they're extremely engaged. People love it. They recognize the brand. And they're sold out, and there's a queue. It's just absolutely fantastic. And I think this is really almost the last slide. Next, please. Yeah, questions and discussions. Thank you very much. Feel free to ask anything.
Thank you, Lutz. We have some questions here. I will just pass to the next slide for people to remember the email where they have to send the emails are info@aci-lac.io. So I will ask the first question. What does the opening of the airport as a business platform for third-party players mean for the infrastructure?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. We don't know. No, seriously. Usually it means, or very simplified, it means you create space. On the iPhone, it means they create space in storage. You know, this is a 1 terabyte iPhone. It's very expensive, but I bought it because I'm creating space on my iPhone for third parties, suppliers, third-party providers. I don't know what my next favorite app will look like in a couple of years, as I said before. But one thing is for sure, it will need storage space. It will need storage space. That's why I bought the terabyte one to create that. So what it means for third-party integration is you need to plan for extra space. Your commercial people, your finance people will hate you for that because you have to be very blunt and tell them, I don't know who's going to be there. Will I be able to rent it out? I don't know. And of course, that creates all kinds of havoc. But I love it when my people come to me and say, well, you know, this could be something for a carpet salesperson or something crazy. Nobody's going to sell a carpet, but we'll try it out. So the most important thing, it means space, creation of space.
Okay, we have another one here. Which business units will be affected by that? Oh, I believe it's engaged with the first one. And how will
Hang on for 1 second.
Okay. Okay, so please remember to send your questions to info@aci-lac.io, please.
Oh, sorry about guys. Next question, again, please.
Okay, the question I believe have to be with related with the first one. Which business units will be affected by that, and how will the according job descriptions change?
Well, I think the biggest effect you'll see in non-aviation, food and beverage and retail and advertising. Your contracts will change. Your contracts will change. Your contract management will change. Your business models will change as far as moving away from the pure business model of transaction participation. So that'll be the biggest impact. We see actually the impact less on integration of digitization as far as the processes is concerned, because as soon as you speed up one process, there's an extra process being invented by the federal police. So I think non-aviation will be most affected in as far as business model is concerned and as far as business unit is concerned.
Okay, we have another one here. What kind of resistance can be expected?
People are always afraid of change. People are always afraid of embracing new technologies. People are afraid of losing their job. We have sometimes have a hard time telling our airline customers and our airline partners that we're changing that we're changing together with them, hopefully. And some of our lenders, some of our investors, some of the bottom line people, the people that look at the bottom line, and of course we have to look at the bottom line, at the end are afraid of these changes as well. It will be gradual. It will not be tomorrow because there's still in different airports and in some local airports, you will have definitely local brands that have excellent retail.
Great. Another one, I believe it will be the last one. Which market should we target if we want to lease an office building located within the airport?
That really depends on where you are. I mean, obviously, if you're a big transfer hub, you have to target visiting and transferring businessmen. Everybody comes together at your airport, has an office and leaves again. But that cannot be generalized. And you really have to look at your own market, how strong it is going to be to need hotels, offices at your particular airport. And you have to be very careful because with the home office, the office market is doing something else altogether, which I think affects the whole industry. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you lots for sharing this valuable information with us today, and to you all the participants for being here, taking the time for being in this webinar. If you have more questions, please remember to send it at info@aci-lac.io, and we will follow up with the speaker. Have a great day and see you in the next webinar.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now.